We are live. This is the first official episode. We'll drop the previous episode, but this is the first real whiskey and real estate episode. How you feel?
Oh man, it's exciting. It's exciting. I mean, we've been talking about doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and actually getting the right people and getting everything in place. And there's so many big things coming, and there's so much going on right now with the market. So this is perfect timing. Yeah. Everything works for a reason.
I'm super intrigued. Like, this is going to be very educational for me because I have all the questions and I feel like you have all the answers. So this is perfect. This location, where are we right now?
We're at the AMMT, kind of what I'd call the hub. In Center Point, Iowa. Obviously, we have the AMMT location where all the daily business goes on, but this is where we have our meetings and our kind of like our sessions up here in Center Point, in the new strip mall there. And it's, this is home, man. This is cozy.
It is so comfortable. Like, I'm just relaxed. Like, you walk in, you see, it feels like a cabin. You got the fireplace, and it's just so relaxing in this place. So this is awesome. So let's introduce yourself, who you are, what got you here. We talked about it in the previous episode, but let's reiterate a couple of those things.
Well, I'm Lucas Burrington, currently I'm the owner of AMMT Property Management. And then I've been doing this real estate gig for 13 years now, 14 years. I couldn't even tell you. It's been a bit. Previous banking experience prior to it got me into the real estate side. Work with from $2 million sales to $80,000 investment sales. So
nice.
Kind of what we're doing here is kind of reaching all of our current fans that we have out there. A lot of the people that we get questions from, like investors coming into the market and your first time home buyers. So isn't much we don't touch, it's, we're kind of a funnel that leads all back to here. So.
I like that. Is that the slogan? There isn't much we don't touch?
One-stop shop, man. That is literally the slogan, is the one-stop shop. So.
Okay. And then, always making money team. That's what AMMT stands for.
Always making money today.
I like that. Today. Okay. That's awesome. And then, what kind of staff do you have?
So we have the property management side has 6 full-time handymen. Then we have the 3 gals in the office that are doing the accounting and the day-to-day. And then we have 3 licensed realtors that are out showing real estate.
Nice.
Or in process of getting licensed. That's kind of the cool thing is, if you're trying to get into real estate and you want to learn from someone that's been at a high level for a long time in the market, like myself, we train a lot of people to be realtors as well. And there's no easier way to learn than showing rental properties, than transversing that rental property into a buyer in the future and so on. So they're helping the business out, but they're at the same time they're stacking their spear list and their pipeline. So. And it's a lead that's coming directly to them. So.
Yeah. So you help people that are just interested in pursuing real estate, or do they have to have a license already, or like?
We help them through the licensing part.
Nice.
The thing with real estate is there's no wrong talent for real estate. Everyone has their little niche of how they can help someone.
Okay.
If a person's a motivated individual and wants to get out there and get their name out there and wants to hustle, we'll work with them. That's awesome. You could be a banker, you could be a farmer, you could be just running a cash register at a grocery store. And hey, there ain't no shame in this game. We're here to help. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And then just real quick to introduce myself, since I'm also here, I'm going to be the guy asking all the questions because I have all the questions and Lucas has all the answers. So we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it interesting. I go by Tone. I'm a podcast recording engineer. Also started out as a recording artist. And I just love finding out more things, information, really Iowa based. Everything I do is for Iowa. So to help people when it comes to things like real estate, it's something that I've never been able to really educate people on. So that's why we have you. And then this introduction, I hope to bring a new audience to you and educate the youth that are looking to buy property or even rent things and just know the business side as well as what the market's like. So I hope to get that information out of you every week and keep it entertaining.
Right.
One other thing that sold me on this podcast was the whiskey side.
Hey.
I think before we get into real estate, every time we should do a little whiskey talk, right?
Hey man, I'm open for that. So that's kind of like my. I would say my go-to when times are tough. You know, if it's an interesting market, I mean, there's just a little sip here and you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, now I do have to admit this is not normally the go-to here, but this is what we had left over in the office right now. I need to start bringing some up.
I think it's got to be like a different bottle every week. So what do we got today?
We just got American blend whiskey with the Seagrams and 7 there.
A little brand placement.
Yeah, you mix that some with some Sprite and 7-Up. It's real good right now. We're in our red Solo cup, and we're bringing our tumblers next time.
I like it. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, man. Cheers to that.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay.
Put it a little ice and mix it all good. Yep.
So talk to us about the real estate side of things. What's the market like right now?
Interesting market. It's right now ever changing with rates. I mean, 2 weeks ago, you were looking at 6.5%, 7% rates by the banks, which really controls the market on the buying and the selling side on a lot of areas. Mm-hmm. And then for about 4 days, it went down almost a whole percentage.
Okay.
3 days later, it went back up.
Yeah.
So it is like I got calls left and right. Let's go shop. Let's go look. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Let's just chill for a second to see if because they went back up 3 days later. So the market's still good though.
Yeah.
So for the people that have been in business and are still hustling out there, you know, it's one of those that it's still busy. If you got the house priced right, it's on the market, it's still going to go within 10 days or less.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of traffic out there.
Okay.
Still very low demand. Low supply. So the demand's still high.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near what it used to be for number of properties on the market. We're still at probably a quarter of what it was 3-4 years ago of what's on the market.
So everything kind of shifted when COVID hit, right?
COVID, rates, a whole bunch of changes going on in the economy.
Yeah.
Inflation, I mean, all that stuff kind of put everything into a circle, kind of a spiral. The ones that can navigate through that stuff, I mean, it's still been a really good market.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of people saying this, that, and another.
Don't buy right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you pull the numbers up, they're down a little bit, but they're still really good compared to what they were.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're out hustling, doing your thing and having the right integrity in this game, then you'll be just fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this formed a ton of questions in my head for not just myself, but the audience that isn't as familiar. You looked a little excited about it going down like a percentage. Mm-hmm. So give me numbers. Like, what does that mean for the buyer? Like a percentage? Like that doesn't sound like a lot, but you lit up saying it was down like a whole percentage for 3-4 days and made it. That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Okay.
Man. So
explain that, please.
Oh Lord. Let's just put 2020, 2019 into perspective here. You know, you were riding 3 to 4% rates.
Okay.
Now you're writing 5.5 to 6.75 rates.
Okay.
That $120,000 house is in 2019. That exact same payment is like paying for $160,000 house in today's world.
Oh wow!
So people that we had pre-approved a year ago, that they're like, hey, I'm on the fence. I'm waiting for the inventory to come back up to see what's out there.
Yeah.
No longer pre-approved for that dollar amount.
Yeah.
Because rates went up, so their payments went up, so now that kicks them into a whole different buying bracket.
Exactly.
So that puts those type of people on freeze because they've seen really good rates before, so they're going to wait for it to adjust back down.
Yeah.
So it's been at a high level rates have been higher than the last 5 years for a period of time now. So when there is a 1% influx, I mean, it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do get excited when we see rates go down.
Right.
I mean, well, and most importantly, it makes us happy for our buyers because it's a more affordable house now. They're not stretching themselves to find something.
Yeah.
Not putting them in that mortgage poor situation because they're paying a higher payment per month.
So talk to me about the people that, what if they did buy in 2016 for 120,000? If I bought a house, is it worth more now? Are my payments higher? Does that help you close more sales? Like, hey, I got people that, bought a house in 2016 and now that same property is worth this.
Yeah. Well, if you pull up like the averages, nation's averages, average time someone stays in the house is 5 years.
Okay.
So that 2016 buyer, they're now probably getting ready to sell.
Yeah.
And the way the market's been with the appreciation, I mean, a lot of people are seeing it on their assessed values right now. This last 5 months has been a big to-do.
Okay.
So values have gone up drastically in the Cedar Rapids market and surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Marion itself was #1 per capita growth last year in the United States. So there was a big thing on the news about that.
Yeah.
And so values were going up because there's a lot of new constructions going on. There's been since 2016 to where we are, the development around a 30-mile radius of Cedar Rapids and even all the four corners of Cedar Rapids has been tremendous. You're in a different market than 2016 when it comes to price-wise.
Right.
Even if you go from 2021 to 2022, we saw prices skyrocket on houses. Mm-hmm. They're starting to stable back out again. Mm-hmm. But you were seeing people that were buying in 2021 making 40 G's on houses a year later to a year and a half later just because of the location they were buying.
Yeah. So, didn't even have to do anything to update
not
the
much.
house.
No, it was just supply and demand. And it was insane. But good for sellers, in that time. And you know what? Buyers, they got to experience a wild market right there. So good, bad, and indifferent. So that's the cool thing about real estate. Real estate will always find a way to correct itself.
Yeah.
It's a blessing in disguise for a lot of people. So ones that thought they were overpaying in 2016, it's like, hey man, I told you you weren't. I told you you weren't. You know. So, yeah. It's so. We're not here to be the economist, and we're not here to tell you what your prices of your property is going to be. We can just show you the stats of what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where the nice thing is over the last 5 years, the number of comps we can pull for everywhere. There's been so many sales that we can just boom. Here's the real live numbers.
So what kind of role do you play for people that have bought for you that are like looking to sell, or like when these percentages drop, do you guys reach out to potential sellers or the people that you're working with on buying? What's your role in that?
So our buyers, we're constantly trying to stay in front of our buyers to let them know, here's what's going on in today's market, here's what's available on the market, because it's still a good market. Mm-hmm. So if that right property comes up they're looking for, hits the market, there could be 5 to 10 people looking at that exact same property. So we have to stay in front of our buyers.
Okay.
If your realtor is not staying in front of you, then you need to reevaluate the situation.
Right.
If you keep missing out on houses, then you might need a new realtor.
It may not be the market. It's the realtor.
It may be your realtor because he's not keeping you in the loop of what's going on. There's now from a seller standpoint, it's the same thing. We have to remain educating our sellers of what's going on in the markets. Hey, rates are really high right now. That 5-day sale that you want out of your house may take 15 to 30 days, may take a little longer to find that right buyer.
Yeah.
And a lot depends on the price ranges. Sellers really have to be market aware, and that's the realtor's job, is to make them market aware of where the pricing should be.
Yeah.
Because if you're pricing things too high, it will sit there for 60 days and will kill the value of that property.
How does that, is it just because it's on the market for so long?
Correct. Yeah, people are discounting it immediately as they start walking through. Like, okay, the first thing they're looking at is how many days has this been on the market? Okay, it's been out there 60 to 90 days. What's wrong?
Yep, that's the first thing.
So they're already trying to figure out how to devalue your property. So listing your property and getting that price right out of the gate that is going to be achievable, and going off previous sales that have sold in the area, and you can show them live numbers of what's going on, and hitting that sweet spot is going to get that quick sale. Yeah. Everything's internet based when it comes to our buyers out there looking at things. So they're educated coming in. If they're serious about buying, they're already educating themselves. They know know what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many times buyers will come in and be like, hey, I seen this house down there two weeks ago sold for this. Why is this one going higher? And then that's where we need to be educated and be like, this one has an extra bedroom. Mm-hmm. This one has newer granite countertops, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So once again, if your realtor is not educating you need to ask more questions or find yourself a different realtor, because it's the biggest purchase of your life. You got to be comfortable with who you're working with. But most importantly, you want a realtor that's been there, done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of, since this is more of an introduction episode, I want you to sell us on you. Why should we go to you specifically? Like, do you have some stats? Do you know about how many properties you've sold or how many you manage right now? And, tell us about your experiences and why people should come to AMMT.
It's easy for me to tell you why, because numbers don't lie. So they don't lie. My real estate partner, Jeremy Trencamp, and myself, we've been in this business. I think combined between the two of us, it's been almost 30 years. 28 to 30 years. We've seen the highs and lows of the market. Mm-hmm. Not only have we've been partners for 10 or 11 years now, and 9 or 10 of them, we've been number one in the market for Coldwell Banker hedges.
Nice.
So we sell more houses than anyone in that area. I think we did almost 300 houses last year. Wow. Between our team and that, once again, I deal with buyers, sellers, and I deal with investors. So I get to see every type of transaction you can imagine, from the $40,000 insurance claim house to the tax sale house, all the way up to your $2 million 72-plex or your $4 million 72-plex and your $1.5 million 24-plex. Or I get into a lot of $150,000 to $300,000 houses. That's kind of my sweet spots for buyers and sellers. Jeremy is fantastic with new construction. Mm-hmm. So he deals with a lot of the new construction stuff. We sell, I don't even know how many new construction houses a year, but we have our builders out there. So between having our builders and having our investors, so you got a $150,000 house, that'd be a great property to sell. We usually already have buyers for that right out of the gate, because you can't find investment properties out there anymore. Yeah. Especially single family houses to turn into rentals. But so a lot of our buyers, or a lot of our sellers, being in the business we are with the clientele we have, we usually already have buyers for that property before we even get that thing listed, just because our pipelines are always full. Okay. So buyers wise, why should they use this? Is because we've been there, we've done it, we've gone through the experience. I'm a former banker, so I can kind of navigate through the whole process of it. Because
a lot of realtors won't go into the banking side of it. Yep. Hey, talk to your banker. Here's the real estate side, and here's the property.
Yep. From our seller standpoint, it's because, once again, we've been there, done it. We can show you the market of what it's brought. We can go off past sales that we've done over the last month to 6 months and say, personally, I sold this property, and I can tell you why it sold for this, and this. Where a lot of realtors are pulling other people's sales. Yeah. We can pull our own and be just like, man, this, we've done 50 sales this last month. Let me show you what we got. Let me show you why you need to be here. And let me tell you the challenges this person had and why it sat there for 45 days. Okay. Nice. So, the education standpoint, I think, is what separates us from anyone else. Is we've navigated through about every scenario you can. We've seen deals go great. We've seen deals that have gone bad and what's made them gone bad. We're preventative. We can do some of that maintenance ahead of time. Yes. Be like, let's avoid this. Mm-hmm.
Here's what we should look out for.
Right. Exactly. So there's a lot of reasons. But numbers don't lie. We just move more houses than anyone else.
Okay. Let's talk numbers real quick then. What's the highest property you've sold?
4 million. Yeah, it was a big multifamily. Nice. Most sales personally I've ever done in a year is right at 100. Nice. So this last year was right at 100 sales.
And that's you directly.
That's just me. That's not the team. That's Lucas.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if you put that into business days perspective, about one every other day. So, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of movement. I mean, I'm usually anywhere from 13 to 18 million per year. I personally sell.
Nice.
So that's an average sale price of roughly about 200 and don't get me on my math. So I'd say 225 to 285 is my average sale is probably where that sweet spot hits.
Nice.
I do a lot of education with new investors and new buyers and do a ton of that never even show up as a number because we're helping educate them, getting them ready and positioned to buy and sell. Getting the new investors in position to create and grow their portfolios. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that doesn't happen, that doesn't show up as a number too, that will show up a number probably next year or this year or something like that. So
that's sweet. What's the fastest you've sold a house that's got on the market?
Oh man, I tell you what, we have many of them sold before they even hit. I mean, it's okay, sign contract, I'm bringing you an offer afterwards.
Oh my goodness.
It would do that a lot.
That's a regular practice.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and I mean, in the last 3 years, that's been a common practice too, where, I mean, the first question I'm asking as soon as I see a house go on the market, is this pending yet? And you're talking hours. Yeah. Is this pending yet is my first question to the other realtor. Yeah. So, so there's a lot of that stuff going on.
Okay. I always like to play devil's advocate. So I'm going to ask you some of the opposite questions. So, what's the longest you've had a house on the market have you seen? Or have you had somebody just, hey, let's just not list it. Let's, fix things up first or.
We've had a lot of that. So, I mean, new construction can be out there for almost 6 to 9 months listed on the market. Just because you might be waiting on supplies, cabinets, you might not have a framer ready right out of the gate, cement work, who knows? There's new construction. Don't be deceived by how many days those are on the market because some of them are listed before they even started building. Yeah. So
I was looking for property in Arizona once and we had pulled up to an empty lot. I was like, why is this? We set up a tour. Why is it just grass?
Well, the ratio put a lot of turns on a lot of things too. Oh. I mean, we had trees coming through houses that were on the market that we were pulling off and putting back on.
Yeah.
And I mean,
the picture's not updated. It didn't include the tree through the front door.
Exactly right, man. We had a tree go through a house and this lady that was living there and she thought it was livable with the tree in the house, had the tree decorated and a swing from it in her kitchen. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I think there was a little more to what was going on in her lifestyle than just than just the tree in her living room. So I was blown away. She's like, I'm like, you really want me to sell this right this? They're like, doesn't this look awesome? I'm like, man.
You're not the only one living in there anymore. Now there's bugs living in the tree.
There's someone living in the house. Yeah, you get that hole out of your kitchen, and it's cool that you decorated a limb, but
oh no.
I mean, derecho is interesting, and I mean, today is even more interesting because I mean, you get to see some of the after effects of derecho right now, which is cool because derecho put PTSD to a lot of people,
Oh yeah, I mean, hear high winds on the news, everyone.
Oh man,
gets terrified now.
But it also beautified some of the houses that needed to be beautified in Cedar Rapids.
Okay,
so it is bringing some value to a lot of areas that needed value brought to it. Some of these houses that were dilapidated that had a board that looked like that was holding the thing together, are now either gone or they've been re-beautified. And I mean, I never want to see anything like that ever happen
again. Anywhere to anyone.
Anywhere. But we're seeing
there's a silver lining.
We're seeing the after effects of it now of just some of these neighborhoods have gotten beautified and some of these houses that are now coming on the market. Yeah. I mean, people are getting, $225,000 houses or $165,000 houses with a lot of updates to them. Yep. So you weren't seeing that.
Yeah. And I could actually speak to a personal situation with that. So I had sold my house during COVID. So I think it was like June 2020 and the derecho was August 2020. My selling price, it went down about $10K due to us having an outdated roof that needed repairs and we didn't know till we had it reevaluated. And then after the derecho, I drive by the house and there's a tree through that roof. And I'm like, if I would have just held out a little longer, insurance would have covered a new roof on the house and we would have definitely been up. And, So there would have been a silver lining had I stayed there, but I had sold it, obviously not knowing a whole derecho was going to happen. Like, yeah, I don't want to buy a new roof and relist it and go through all that. So let's just drop the price is what we ended up doing.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was not his realtor.
He may have had better suggestions.
But yeah, so I mean, there is a silver lining to it, but it's funny as we do this podcast and we can see outside and there's 50-mile-an-hour winds today, and it's like the first thing that's going through my mind is how many houses do I need to drive by when I get out of here to see if there's limbs down, and I mean, there's still a lot of that out there too. So I mean, that's as a realtor / property manager, that's another thing that I bring to the table is as a property manager, I'm looking out for your properties because as soon as I kid you not, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to have to go drive by, make sure I didn't have dead tree limbs that are falling on roofs and stuff like that. 50-mile-an-hour winds puts a lot of things into perspective when you still have some of that after effect of loose limbs up in trees from the derechos.
Yeah. So, that's amazing. So, I bet I know it impacted the real estate business a lot, the derecho happening and stuff. What's some of like the worst case scenarios on the business side of things? Like we all know the personal situations. Like I lost my new apartment that I moved into. It was like trees all through it. But I didn't get to see like, how was a property manager affected? Everyone assumes, insurance. But how did it affect you business wise?
I will never forget that day or that experience. I was driving down Oakland Road when that thing hit, and I had stop signs flying around me. I mean, my hood got scratched up from a stop sign actually looking like a saw blade going through my hood. I turned down off Oakland on 35th Street to try to get to my office right off of 34th Street. Tree fell right in front of me. I pulled back, and literally as I'm pulling back, a power line went down. I pulled into Hy-Vee gas station right across the street from Hy-Vee back on Oakland, and we busted the door open and we went to the cooler. By the time we get out, I mean, as a property manager and from the business aspect, I had 400 houses to worry about how their families were. I could care less with the condition of the house. I'm more concerned with the condition of the tenants were going to be and what I needed to report to my investors. So I flew back to Center Point where I live. Made sure my kids and family were okay. Not a lot of impact there. I looked at them and I was pale as a ghost because it looked like Jurassic Park, when the T-Rex got out and it literally ate all the big herbivore animals that were laying in the open field. That's what the interstate looked like because I was driving down there and the interstate had semis just tipped over. It looked like every quarter mile there was another. So it was like, I was like, man. So I got back home and I talked to the fam and I'm like, I'll see you in 2 days pretty much.
Were you able to reach them? Because my phone was
done.
Power, that's got to be the most terrifying. So I will say the beauty of my personal experience, there's a couple beautiful moments actually in such a tragedy. But my daughter, I was working at GoDaddy and work from home. And I had an office in my recording studio, and then I had an office in my apartment set up. And my daughter was with me that day because it was COVID, so it was homeschool as well. And I asked her, do you want to do school from the studio or do you want to go to the apartment? She's like, it'd be so much fun to do it from the studio. So we go to the studio and we hear the winds and it's crazy, like just like an earthquake or something going nuts. So we're hiding under a table in the studio. Luckily, there's like no glass or anything. And we just hear all this damage just happening all around us and no idea what's going on, but it's just me and her. And, she's like, are you scared? I'm like, not at all. I'm terrified. Like, we're good. Just watch this on the iPad. We don't have power. So just sit here. We'll be fine. Just, watch a movie. I hear this crazy banging at the door. And I'm like, what is going on? I look at the door. It's Chuck peeking through the window. Like, you okay? I see your car. I was like, yeah, I'm okay. What's going on? And I go outside. It was like a movie scene where it's like, you're not going to believe this. I go outside and it looked like the apocalypse. Like there was just trees down everywhere and houses destroyed and people like trying to, get people out of houses and take trees off of stuff. And it was just crazy. But then we go back to the apartment and there's a tree, like we were at our top floor apartment. We go back to our apartment. There's a tree through the bedroom, the bathroom, each window, the closet, anywhere we would have thought to hide. There was a tree through there, and then like through the, like one of the trees went through a bathtub. So that's how much force, like through the roof, through everything, and through the bathtub. So there would have been nowhere safe for us to be. Luckily, my daughter chose the studio. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. And then I'm also blessed that I had her with me, because if she was like with her mom or with her sister or something, I would have been freaking out, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was pale white when I got home. I've never seen anything. And like I said, I looked at my fam and I'm like, I'll see you in 2 days, because I had 400 doors to go knock.
Oh man.
So literally, I think that was like, man, don't quote me on this, but it was like 4 or 5 in the afternoon when I knocked on my own house to make sure everyone was good.
Yeah.
And I came flying back, and it wasn't until like 3 in the morning I got home, because I was knocking on as many doors as I can to make sure families were okay, getting as many pictures as I can to send back, because I have investors from 16 different states.
Yeah.
So try to explain to someone out in North Carolina, hey, we just had a hurricane.
Yeah, in Iowa.
Inland hurricane. We had an inland hurricane in Iowa here. And then start showing the damages. And so I had to report to investors, but I also had to make sure families were getting a place to stay. Yeah. So those 2-3 days was insane. And then I remember day 2, I started assembling the crews to start chopping down trees and getting trees off, and start talking to insurance agents and be like, okay, when are the adjusters going to be here? And so from the business aspect of it, there was no time. I moved all of our workers up to Center Point at this location, actually.
Okay.
So we had 5 people. We had 2 volunteers that came in and helped us out, thank God. And they were still making phone calls to the ones we couldn't figure out where the tenants were, or if they were out of town, and just trying to touch base with everyone. It was an insane 60 days there of just relocation of people and trying to.
Did you have like other properties to move people to if their house was unlivable? Or
we did. We had some of our vacancies that were out there we could fill with something else, or we ended up turning some of our Airbnbs. We had 14, 15 Airbnbs we were managing at the time that we turned into permanent rentals. So people had permanent stays. And then we also had a couple other places that apartment buildings that we turned into Airbnbs for construction crews to come in. And so, I mean, we were doing a little bit of just shuffling to make sure we had people to take care of people.
Yeah.
I think that's what we hang our hat on, and that's what I've always hang my hat on, is the family aspect of the business and the family aspect of what we're impacting out. And whether it's an investor and I'm dealing with your retirement money, or I'm dealing with a tenant and their family and helping them through the stages. Yeah. That's one thing I personally have hung my hat on, and how I created my business was the family aspect of it.
Yeah.
And
take care of people. Take care of people first.
Yeah. The paychecks will follow.
Yeah.
The business will follow if you're doing the right things.
Yep.
And
exactly.
We're not always going to make everyone happy. We can't always give the right answers, but we're there for them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing
you put people first.
Always.
I love
always.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's good question. We got a little soapbox on that one, man. Good question.
I think that's a good way to kind of wrap this episode. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Just stay tuned. We're going to get into more in-depth areas. And always feel free to contact me if there's content that you guys ever want to hear about. But yeah, we're definitely going to get in more in-depth of how to buy a house. And we'll bring some inspectors on, and we have all the connections, man. If there's, we just want to make sure this is an education tool, but to understand there's a lot more into real estate than just a guy behind a suit and a tie or a button-up shirt and chasing you, knocking on your door and saying, I want to list your property. I mean, you won't find me in either one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, but I will outsell anyone that wants to step near it, and I'll make sure the family's taken care of. So, yeah, I'm excited to touch a lot of base with a lot of y'all and see how we can help y'all out.
All right. Some more whiskey and real estate.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tone.
Thank you.